Okay, I think we can get started if it is okay for our guests. All right, so welcome to this online event titled Intercultural Communication and Virtual Games in Language Classrooms, Why and How. We have two special guests today, Dr. Zeynep ÇETİN from Aksaray University and Dr. Fatma KİMSESİZ from Kırşehir Evran University. First of all, I would like to thank our guests for accepting to deliver this speech. I know that it's a super busy time for all of us. It's the beginning of the semester, new classes, new students, etc. So thank you in advance. And I would like to start by briefly introducing our special guests. First of all, Dr. Zeynep ÇETİN, she received her MA and PhD degrees on English language teaching from Gazi University, Turkey. She has been working as an assistant professor at the Department of Foreign Language Education at Aksaray University. She is mainly interested in intercultural communication, second language acquisition, teacher education, and ICT integration into English language teaching. She published research articles in reputable international journals and book chapters in international books. On the other hand, we have Dr. Fatma KİMSESİZ. She received her MA and PhD degrees from the Department of English Language Teaching, Atatürk University, Turkey. She currently works as an assistant professor at the Department of Translation and Interpreting at the School of Foreign Languages, Kırşehir Evran University, Turkey. Her main research interests include teaching English as a foreign language to young learners, comparative studies across English and Turkish, and English teacher education. I would like to give the floor to our guests now to deliver their talks. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, dear Dr. Yusuf Hocam. I hope you are all well. Today we will talk about highly important issues such as intercultural communications, virtual games, and how we can combine these two different items in language classrooms. I think this is a big issue, right, for all of us. I hope that you all benefit from this speech and you can implement these games into your classrooms, okay? As the first speaker, I am going to talk about highly theoretical issues. Somehow it may be boring for you, but without theory, practice may not take place in our classrooms, right? So for this reason, firstly, I will talk about, as I said before, some theoretical issues, but I'll try to make this part a bit enjoyable for you. For this reason, I wanted to use a video at the beginning, okay? Let's watch it all together and try to understand what is misunderstanding, miscommunication among speakers, okay? I'll share it first and then I'll start to my speech. Let me share this screen with you. Okay. Well, let's watch it all together.
Hocam, do we need to hear the audio because we're not hearing it?
Can't you hear it?
No, it's maybe something about Zoom.
Let me play it again.
Misunderstanding.
Do you hear it?
We just did.
Okay, then.
Have you ever talked with a friend about a problem, only to realize that he just doesn't seem to grasp why the issue is so important to you? Have you ever presented an idea to a group, and it's met with utter confusion. Or maybe you've been in an argument when the other person suddenly accuses you of not listening to what they're saying at all. What's going on here? The answer is miscommunication, and in some form or another, we've all experienced it. It can lead to confusion, animosity, misunderstanding, or even crashing a multi-million-dollar probe into the surface of Mars. The fact is, even when face-to-face with another person in the very same room and speaking the same language, human communication is incredibly complex. But the good news is that a basic understanding of what happens when we communicate can help us prevent miscommunication. For decades, researchers have asked what happens when we communicate. One interpretation, called the transmission model, views communication as a message that moves directly from one person to another, similar to someone tossing a ball and walking away. But in reality, this simplistic model doesn't account for communication's complexity. Enter the transactional model, which acknowledges the many added challenges of communicating. With this model, it's more accurate to think of communication between people as a game of catch. As we communicate our message, we receive feedback from the other party. Through the transaction, we create meaning together. But from this exchange, further complications arise. It's not like the Star Trek universe, where some characters can Vulcan mind melt, fully sharing thoughts and feelings. As humans, we can't help but send and receive messages through our own subjective lenses. When communicating, one person expresses her interpretation of a message, and the person she's communicating with hears his own interpretation of that message. Our perceptual filters continually shift meanings and interpretations. Remember that game of catch? Imagine it with a lump of clay. As each person touches it, they shape it to fit their own unique perceptions based on any number of variables, like knowledge or past experience, age, race, gender, ethnicity, religion, or family background. Simultaneously, every person interprets the message they receive based on their relationship with the other person and their unique understanding of the semantics and connotations of the exact words being used. They could also be distracted by other stimuli, such as traffic or a growling stomach. Even emotion might cloud their understanding. And by adding more people into a conversation, each with their own subjectivities, the complexity of communication grows exponentially. So as the lump of clay goes back and forth from one person to another, reworked, reshaped, and always changing, it's no wonder our messages sometimes turn into a mush of miscommunication. But luckily, there are some simple practices that can help us all navigate our daily interactions for better communication. 1. Recognize that passive hearing and active listening are not the same. Engage actively with the verbal and nonverbal feedback of others and adjust your message to facilitate greater understanding. 2. Listen with your eyes and ears, as well as with your gut. Remember that communication is more than just words. 3. Take time to understand as you try to be understood. In the rush to express ourselves, it's easy to forget that communication is a two-way street. Be open to what the other person might say. And finally, 4. Be aware of your personal perceptual filters. Elements of your experience, including your culture, community, and family, influence how you see the world. Say, this is how I see the problem, but how do you see it? Don't assume that your perception is the objective truth. That'll help you work towards sharing a dialogue with others to reach a common understanding together.
All right. This is the end of our video. As you see right now, the communication is highly complex process, right? Even for our native language, even for our mother tongue, right? We can misunderstand each other easily because of some reasons. There are lots of reasons for this misunderstanding. Now, let's imagine that we are talking in our foreign or second language. So misunderstanding is quite possible, right? For this reason, today we are going to talk about how we prevent misunderstanding in intercultural communication. We will focus on intercultural communication and its implementation in our language classrooms, etc. For this reason, I started with this video. I really like it. Well, let me stop sharing. Okay. Well. I think you can see my PowerPoint presentation right now. Well. Okay. Intercultural communication and virtual games. Today, my speech consists of 3 different headings, as you see on my PowerPoint presentation. I'll start with an introduction phase, and then I'll continue with intercultural communicative competence. And then, as the last heading, you will see ICC, intercultural communicative competence and English language teaching briefly. I'll try to explain all these issues to you. Well, there is not too much on PowerPoint presentation. I'll try to talk about these issues myself. Well, let's start then. As you know that as the world is more becoming globalized, nations, cultures, and peoples are getting closer and closer, right? We can communicate with each other easily through the technology, through the web. That's the case. The world is getting more closer. As the scholars said that the world is becoming global village nowadays. With the help of technology, we can communicate with people from very abroad, right? That's the case. Well, today's global world provides opportunities to communicate with people from different cultures in international settings. Here, the international settings is an important vocabulary for us. What is international settings? I will define it too. Well, the use of English as an international language in today's world is indispensable because it is the most widely spoken foreign language in the world, right? It is the means of communication. Well, it's the means of communication. All of the people try to communicate with English nowadays. They don't use Spanish or German or French to communicate with each other. For this reason, we use it as the mean. Well, not only native and non-native speakers use English when they interact, but also non-native speakers use English when an interaction occurs between them in intercultural setting. Well, one of the scholars who is highly significant in intercultural communication, McKay, says that a global language cannot be linked to any country or culture. I think this idea is really important. A global language cannot belong to one nation only. So English does not belong to England or United Kingdom or United States of America anymore. It belongs to whole world, right? We have it. We use it right now. Okay. So this language cannot be linked to one culture or nation anymore. So rather, it must belong to those who use it. So we have it, as I said before. In this respect, English is a unique medium of communication in global and international settings and belongs to anyone who uses it as a communication tool. Furthermore, one of another significant scholar, Wendell, emphasized the role of English in an international setting, right? For example, in transport, tourism, and conferences, for surfing the internet and scientific research. We use it in different settings too. As an international language, English is an effective and functional tool for cross-cultural communication. Cross-cultural communication is another important term in intercultural communication here. Cross-cultural communication. So, communication takes place among different cultures. Okay. Well, the rapid development of globalization process and technology in the world make easier to communicate with people from many different cultures. For example, as a as a Turk, as a Turkish speaker, I can communicate with an Egyptian speaker who use English as a medium, right? I can communicate with him or her. And of course, his or her accent will affect the his or her usage of the target language too. Well, in this respect, we cannot count on pronunciation or accent differences in the usage. For this reason, the actual use is important, actually. Well, communicative competence without cultural awareness is not enough to ensure global communication. In this regard, intercultural communication has gained importance in recent years, and researchers in the field emphasize intercultural communicative competence, ICC. In other words, this acronym is ICC, right? Which is indispensable extension of communicative competence. Well, this point is important. ICC is an extension of communicative competence. It is not a totally new competence, actually. Okay. Well, according to Christa's research, non-native speakers of English are more in number than native speakers of English. We exceed the number of native speakers nowadays. This point is important. As non-native speakers of English, we are more than native speakers. Imagine the situation. We can modify our target language, right? Because we use it in every setting with different purposes. As I said before, for example, we can use English for transport or tourism or internet search, etc. We are modifying it actually. Well, this means that the possibility of communication with non-natives in intercultural setting is higher than before. Knowing English is no longer a choice. It's not a choice, it's an obligation, right? It's a necessity because you can communicate with the non-native speakers in a different setting. It's an obligation. We need to know it. Well, okay, for this reason, we need to develop our intercultural communicative competence through different settings with different purposes. Well, so let's see what is this intercultural communicative competence. Okay, let's see all together. Here there's a diagram which consists of the subdomains of ICC. Well, as you see that there are skills, attitudes, skills again, and knowledge. All of them all together make up intercultural communicative competence. And of course, there are very different models due to some scholars. For example, Brahim is an, maybe we can call him as the founder of intercultural communicative competence, maybe, because he published numerous books, numerous research, and developed lots of models. I recommend you to check out his works if you are interested in intercultural communication, because there are lots of publications of him. He developed a model for this issue. Okay, let's continue. Intercultural communicative competence. Well, the worldwide interrelationship between economies, industries, education, communication, and technology create a global atmosphere all around the world, right? We are living in that world, which is global village, as I said. And this new atmosphere requires interacting and exchanging ideas and knowledge all around the globe. Well, one of the important scholars like Brahim Weber states that development in many fields which are significant for any people of a society lead to intercultural encounter. This is another important term, intercultural encounter, which have to be managed and designed in work, education, and private lives. Well, intercultural encounter may take place at work areas or education or in our private lives, right? For this reason, we need to develop our competency. In educational field, especially in language education, intercultural competence and linguistic competence are seen inseparable from each other by significant scholars in the field. Well, linguistic competence, as you know, that means every domains of our language knowledge, right? Whether it is syntax or pragmatics or morphology, etc. For this reason, linguistic competence cannot be separated from intercultural competence because language and culture are seen as a sides of a coin. We cannot separate culture from language, or we cannot separate language from culture, well, vice versa. Well, within 10 or 15 years, there is a shift away from communicative approach to paradigm of intercultural competence in language teaching. Well, one needs to develop the ability to see his or her own cultural values and practices in a broader perspective to negotiate among cultural worlds, awareness and empowerment on a social level, to have tolerance and empathy with others. Well, we need those soft skills to develop our competency, right? To have tolerance or empathy or empowerment in our communication skills. In other words, culture acquisition does not mean simply knowledge storage, about different cultures. I think this point has a great importance. We cannot teach cultural issues by giving our students direct information about different cultures. For example, you cannot teach Halloween to your students. This does not mean developing intercultural competence. You cannot develop this by giving direct information about the cultural issues. Okay. For this reason, we need to develop our EFL or ESL learners target language knowledge by developing their skills, attitudes, okay, and knowledge about this competency. Well, intercultural competence sub-dimensions help individuals to have specific abilities which provide appropriate usage of language and appropriate behavior in an intercultural encounter. As I said before, we need to develop our language learners' skills, attitudes, and knowledge dimensions by preparing activities or implementations in our language classrooms, whether it is digital or traditional, it doesn't matter. We need to implement such activities, okay, to develop these sub-dimensions. Well, before passing the last heading, I want to share another good video about intercultural communication. I know that it will be highly useful to concrete your ideas about intercultural communication. Let me share that one with you. A few minutes, please.
It's a big world, full of difference and diversity. How you see others is influenced by your own cultural perspective, and how others see you is influenced by their cultural perspective. What happens when you speak? Do people from other cultures understand you in the way you intended? And what happens with different cultures in the workplace? How rigid or flexible is their approach to rules? Is formal or informal behavior expected? And how do different cultures approach timekeeping? In today's global business environment, it is essential to learn how to navigate across different cultural landscapes. You need a good set of tools to do this. You need an understanding of how different cultures trade and do business, an insight into how different cultures communicate, and a clear idea of how different cultures manage people. To be a savvy global traveler, you need to be willing to undertake the journey of understanding other cultures. Develop cultural intelligence so you can communicate confidently across cultures.
Okay, this is the end of my second video. Okay. So you see the PowerPoint presentation right now?
Yes, we see it. Let's go.
Okay. I couldn't see myself.
Yes, you're not sharing your screen now. Okay.
Do you see it right now?
Yes.
Well, this is my last heading about all these theoretical issues, as I said before. Well, ICC and English language teaching. Well, let's look at what can we do to implement ICC in our English language classrooms. Actually, Fatma Hoca will talk about some virtual games. I think her part will make the issue more concrete for you, but I need to explain all this theory to you. Well, teaching a language to learners means opening their minds to new cultures, right? Ways of life, and new perspectives together with linguistic features of language. Well, Sergio points out that language teaching can be no more viewed as a most linguistic task. Well, also, she states that a foreign language which is brought to classroom connects learners to a culturally different world. As an English language teacher, we are the bridge actually between our culture and the target culture by using the target language. We are creating a bridge between our culture and the target culture. We are using a foreign language, a target language, and actually we are broadening our students' minds. They can think differently by this way, by learning a new language. For this reason, we have a totally significant role in our classrooms. Well, in this context, it should be decided whether the focus will be the teaching national culture or an intercultural approach which provides new abilities to students in a global world. Which should be taught? Which should be taught in language classrooms? Should we teach our own culture, which our students have already known its content, or should we teach a broader perspective to our students, or should we develop their soft skills, or should we teach the knowledge of the target language? Okay, we should decide on which aspects should be taken into consideration. We should be very careful about this issue. Well, in this respect, one of the important scholars about this field, Riziger, recommends that teachers are supposed to leave the traditional culture teaching approach and move to multicultural and intercultural teaching. Because some abilities, such as ability of being open-minded, ability to tolerance of differences, and ability to respect for self and others are required in multicultural world. As you see, there are lots of subdomains of intercultural communication. The first one, being open to other ideas, other perspectives, or accepting others as they are, right? Without trying to change their way of thinking. Tolerance to differences, accept them as they are, as I said before. Ability to respect the differences and embrace your own virtues and beliefs, right? These are all soft skills of intercultural communication. We need to develop these soft skills in our language classrooms with using different activities, different tasks. It's our responsibility as language teachers. That's the case. Well, moreover, these abilities are widely accepted as among the most effective ways of fostering intercultural communication in the foreign language classrooms. So, the main goals in foreign language classrooms can be depicted as cultural awareness, acceptance of cultural differences, and interest in target culture and cultures in general. So, intercultural communicative competence should be taught in foreign language classrooms for many reasons, right? There are lots of reasons to develop these soft skills. Significant scholars in the field emphasize that fostering intercultural competence among students increases ability of empathy, communication with others, and understanding one's own culture and others' culture. So, by developing our students' ICC, we can develop their understanding, ability of understanding, their empathy skills, right? Okay, and additionally, their openness towards differences. Well, first of all, to avoid misunderstanding among culturally different people, enabling efficient communication, the correct use of vocabulary and grammar is necessary. As I said before, communicative competence contains intercultural competence. Without using target language effectively in your language, you cannot develop ICC. It's not possible. First of all, we need to develop our students' linguistic competence, and then we need to develop intercultural communicative competence, which is an extension of linguistic competence. I explained that already. Well, making the learning easier and more relaxed is required when one or two foreigners exist in the classroom. The classroom atmosphere is important here because there are culturally different people in the setting, right? We need to provide such an environment to make our learners more open to communication. Otherwise, communication breakdown may happen in the classroom and you cannot prevent it easily. Okay. Well, moreover, intercultural communicative competence enables learners to become aware of their own way of thinking and culture and others. Since others may think differently, they may have different perspectives, but as an interlocutor, we need to accept these differences in an open way. We cannot judge others' perspectives, right? It's not our right. Well, also, teaching intercultural communicative competence in language classrooms and the acquisition of such abilities may be important not just for individual level, but also it is necessary for future educators, leaders, or professionals for successful cultural collaboration. As I mentioned before, we live in a global village. As language teachers, we are raising our children for future, right? We need to develop their competencies with different applications. Otherwise, they cannot communicate openly with foreigners, with others, or they don't respect to others' perspectives. For this reason, as English language teachers, we have a heavy burden, my dear friends. Okay, we need to modify our language classrooms to raise more culturally competent students. For this reason, we are giving this speech actually. I hope you benefit from this theoretical part. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you may write your questions to chat box. I'll try to answer your questions at the end of our speech when Fatma Hoca completes her speech, her part too. Well, thank you very much for listening to me. It was a pleasure for me. Okay then, Yusuf Hocam, my part has ended right now.
Thank you Hocam. It was a fruitful part.
You're welcome. Well, this is the thank you picture. Well,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, now I start my screen sharing. And I think now you can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you can see my presentation now, entitled, yes, Intercultural Communication and Virtual Games in Language Classrooms. Now, I will talk about how part after Zeynep Hocam now. The first game that I will introduce you is Bafa Bafa. This is a simulation game, actually, and it was developed to prepare people to live and work in multicultural environments with other people from other cultures, it means. And it was first invented by Dr. Gary Schwartz in 1974. And this was also published by Simulation Training Systems. And actually, rather than just emphasizing a specific culture, I mean the borders of a specific culture, Schwartz was in favor of improving a culture general game simulation to be used for any other cultures, for any other countries. And in Bafa Bafa, participants come to understand the powerful effects that culture plays in every person's life by experiencing it themselves in the environment here. And this may also be used to help participants and also the players, I mean, prepare for living and working in another culture and to learn how to work with people from other cultures, from other disciplines, genders, races, ages, like this. And this game also aims to increase participants' cross-cultural competence and also intercultural literacy. And it is played in two distinct groups, the alphas and the betas. We have two groups here. And one of the most important part about this game is that, as noted by Schwartz, it teaches that what seems irrational, contradictory, or unimportant to us in our culture may seem rational, sometimes consistent and terribly important to a person from another culture. And you know, there are some ways where cultures differ in this part. Let's say that high contract versus high context culture, or individualistic cultures or collectivistic cultures. And the way people treat towards women and their perception of time, maybe their response to authority and their personal space, how they show their emotions, their way of negotiation, and their attitudes to work, and also their taboos in their own culture, and also should do's or maybe shouldn't do's. And as we look at the comparison between these two cultures, the alpha culture and the beta culture, as you see, alpha culture is a warm and traditional culture, and it is hierarchical. It is family oriented. People talk about their families when they are playing the game in general. And it's the touch culture, and it involves close relationship among people. And as we look at the beta culture, it is a task-oriented trading culture. Here, earning money is important, and it is competitive, and it is a meritocracy. This means that a society governed by people selected according to merit, it means. And this is not hierarchical in comparison to the alpha culture. And they respect only for achievement, and it values negotiation and also better trading language. And as we look at this comparison again from a different point of view, the alpha culture represents the high context culture, whereas the beta culture represents the low context culture. And the alpha culture is relationship oriented, and leaders and people in high positions are highly regarded in this culture. And these people in alpha culture tend to talk about their family, as we told. And in beta culture, this part holds a highly competitive trading characteristic. There is no hierarchy here, and everyone is equal, including the genders. And betas tend to talk about work. And the players simulate the game according to these characteristics of the cultures here. And as we look at the playing, and actually at the beginning, the teacher or the facilitator or the trainer sums the general purpose of the game. They give extra information about the aims of this game and assign the participants membership in the culture groups. Let's say that you are in the alpha group and you are in the beta group like this. And groups are instructed in different rooms about their values, expectations, the way they behave, their customs or their new culture without knowing anything about the other civilization. It means that the alpha culture, the people in the alpha culture are trained or introduced about the rules in a room, and the other group are introduced the rules in another room, and they don't know anything about it. And after this instruction about the rules and figures in the game, each group sends an observer to the other culture's room. So what do? During this observation period, the hosting group, let's say that the betans visit alphans this time, and this group, the alphan, role play their values, expectations, or the customs here. And the visitor challenges, tries to learn more about the hosting culture, refraining from asking direct questions this time, just observes what they do and how they behave. And later, the observer returns to their room and reports back to their culture on what they observed and infer to get ready for the cross-cultural interaction. As you see, this picture was taken from the game that we played in our preparation class last year here. At our university. And yes, and each group improves hypotheses about the best way to interact with the other culture. And here, this is based on their, of course, inferences and observation on their way of behavior, And after the interaction of both groups, depending on their values, expectations, and customs of their culture, the game is ended after each visit, and the experience debriefed. Let's look at this part. Considering the purpose of the training, whether it was for training an individual to interact with people from another culture to a different culture, the participants come together after the game to discuss and share their ideas on their experiences. Here in our game, we had students from Iraq, Somalia, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and Afghanistan also, and also we had Turkish students. And this game was just, maybe like breaking some of the, ice. This game was performed as an icebreaker, and also here the students felt a little bit closer to each other because let's say that our student from Somalia was so, always was so hesitating about speaking or maybe her approach to other friends here actually. Let's continue. And finally, the participants are expected to build interaction with other cultures and also to understand the feelings of other people from another culture. They also experience the way people behave in other cultures here. This is done to let them save and included in this group maybe, and also to develop their ability in adapting and interacting with people from other cultures. And also it is a way to improve their intercultural literacy and also intercultural competence. And the other game is diversity. This is also an important game here, used to improve intercultural communication. The reason for the selection of this game is that this was designed to improve both global and local cultural competence of the players here. And it allows participants to engage successfully with people from distinct cultures, as well as to recognize the dynamics of the source culture. And this game was also developed by Dr. Simons as a tool to help students handle the potential conflicts and also resolve some challenges efficiently that learners confront in multicultural settings. Let's continue, and you can see the samples from the page of this game. Let me check it for you. This time, yes, you can see, and also you can see some teams, most popular games here. You can select games by country, skill development, feature teams, migration challenges like this. And also there are some thematic pages here, as you can see. Yes. And this was designed to create and use games to improve intercultural and linguistic competences also. And it brings people together to interact in a human way this time. The participants try to understand themselves. They share their ideas, their values, the way of thinking, and skill to validate mutual appreciation. And it also suggests cultural workshops to the participants to boost their cultural competences, and also cross-cultural communication skills in a safe learning environment here. And here, as a cultural teaching tool that benefits from game-based method, this game provides a local initiative to come over some potential threats such as prejudices and also races, and it evidences a cross-cultural relevance to any community or organization that's concerned with this improving intercultural literacy. Yes, in this game, the communication, of course, is emphasized, and the scope of the game is available for facilitators, students, teachers, business owners, sometimes social workers, and any other individuals. And it is played in small groups, and there are some cards. It is played with a deck of cards related with different things, as I showed you, yes. And taking turns, the players respond to 5 kinds of questions and challenges on the cards and discuss their ideas and views and reactions with each other related with the topics here. And the games are arranged by diversity in several formats, such as a full game focusing on a specific culture, or a mini game to be played with fewer groups. And it also involves 5 different types of cards to enhance learning. They are called diversity modes, diversity choice, diversity share, diversity risk, and diversity guide. And as you can see, diversity mode is related with recognizing factual knowledge about specific cultural norms, and diversity choice is related with learning how to make decisions and preference about how to behave well. And diversity share is related with developing communicative skills in building discussion sessions here. And diversity risk is related with predisposing participants to react properly to unexpected situations. These situations can be positive or negative, and it aims to allow players to experience how differences can bear improbable benefits and costs. And the last one, diversity guide, it is related with making a comparison of approaches in both cultures. Yes, as we look at the routes, the participants are positioned in one of the breakout rooms. And the game depends on experiential learning about the specific topic, about the chosen topic, and about the cultures of other participants and in the same group, and also the native culture of each player here. So the more the players participate by sharing their ideas, asking questions, the more they get out here. And it also offers a variety of games involving intercultural communication, global teamwork, cultural competence and desire to develop intercultural skills. Yes. And it also provides a number of feature teams for the participants for different age groups related with gender, healthcare, and migrant acculturation. You can see some parts here, games by country, and also related with some teams here, some feature teams, diverse test or eco-diversity like this, and some other topics related with improving skills, as you see, negotiating globally, and also for cultural competence, and also related with some other specific issues related with countries, such as for Finland, New Horizons, and for Ukraine, a acculturation project like this. And the third game is Free Rise. This is an educational game, and it helps the players get smarter, learn more, while making a difference for people around the world. So how can we do this? Every question we answer here, we answer correctly, raises 10 grains of rice for the World Food Program to support its work saving and changing lives around the world. Every question we answer correctly generates the cash equivalent of 10 grains of rice donated for World Food Program here. This is a game for all ages and is designed to be safe, welcoming, and neutral. And it's clearly stated that they are a community of players who want to learn, play, and make a positive difference in the world. They come from all over the world this time. And private sponsors also match the rice grain donation generated within Free Rice, triggering a financial payment to World Food Program. And this money goes into the pot of greatest needs to support the organization's ongoing emergencies. And it has raised more than 214 billion grains of rice for people in need since 2010. And it equals to $1.5 million in cash equivalent, you see. And this is their slogan, join our global community and start making a difference today. So how can we do this? There are some categories here related with the game, and there are also some subcategories. As you can see, history, geography, English, language learning like this. And so how can we play this in the classroom? At first you create a profile, you log in, and then you can create a private group also for your students. You can invite your friends and compete to see who can raise the most rice. And you can share your group code so players can join it. And then track rice grains in the group's stats, it means statistics page, to see the rankings of the players. Any rice grain you earn throughout your individual profile is automatically added into the group. And most of the players play this game on desktop, as you can see, with a 98%. And it is also available in App Store and Google Play Store. You can also select some categories here, difficulty levels, challenges, and groups. I will show you the page. We can also be informed about the activity feed here, relating with these titles you can see on the activity feed part here, this part. Yes, this is just a short video of how this game is played. Yes, you earn more rice, by the way, 10 grains of rice here, as you correctly answer the questions. This is actually a word game, but it also something related with improving your intercultural competence and also your empathy and affinity towards other people. Yes. Yes, thank you. These are the three games that I wanted to introduce. Yes, this is the browser page of Free Rice. Here on this part, we can look at the game, and here, let's say that it asks us questions. Often means, let's say, frequently. And then it waits here, and again, a new word comes here like this. Okay. Yes, you can also look at the categories on this part. And they also involve subcategories. Let's say language learning involves some other languages like this, and also math questions here. And we can also select, yes, difficulty level. There are some challenges here. You can join these challenges for collecting rice grains. Yes, okay. Now, this is all about my presentation and the introduction of the games. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any question, we can take them.
Hocam, thank you. Perfect timing. Thank you, both of you, for
Yes.
this wonderful talk.
Okay.
If you have any questions, please, you can write in the chat box. There is one question: what can you recommend for English teachers to improve their learner skills of ICC and intercultural interaction?
Well, I can answer this question, Yusuf Hocam.
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Okay, Hocam. Come on.
Well, thank you for this question. Actually, there are lots of activities that you can carry out in your classrooms. First of all, I can recommend to implement different tasks and activities implementation in your classrooms. But before that, you need to develop your own ICC, intercultural communicative competence first. For this reason, you need to read lots of research articles and book chapters, etc. There are lots of publications in the web related with this issue. For this reason, first of all, we need to develop our own English language teachers ICC, and then you can uniquely think about the issue. Okay, I can answer like that.
Okay, thank you, Hocam. Any other questions? Okay, I think that is all, Hocam. So thank you very much for your time and for being with us today. We hope to host you, both of you, someday in this part of the country. And we would like to
Thank you
visit
very
Thank
much,
you so
Hocam.
in that
Thank
part of the
you.
country.
Thank you very much for this lovely event. We hope that you benefited from it. We try to do our best, but we had a time limitation to prepare all these issues, and somehow it is a bit abstract, right? Making it concrete is not an easy thing to do. For this reason, we need to study it a lot.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hocalarım, for inviting us to this event here, and also for letting us share our ideas and also study here. Thank you for listening to us too.
Okay.
It was nice to meet you, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.